It's all right.
I don't remember countdown on this thing before. Do you?
Yeah, it usually does.
That was an alternate universe. Good morning from Cynthia Rose Healing Art Sanctuary in Monument, Colorado. I look out the window every time because I'm checking. I'm just acknowledging that we're still here in Monument, Colorado, and we haven't gone into an alternate universe where I'm somewhere else, maybe on the beach. Anyway, so welcome to our daily alignment. I have special guest Sheldon Ray Bird with me again today.
Good morning.
And we are going to align today with a few things. I asked yesterday if what people would like us to talk about on our alignment today, and a couple of people mentioned that they were feeling heavy. And it's interesting because I'm feeling a little heavy today too, feeling some heaviness. And, it's also, maybe some heavier thoughts as well that come along with that, as well as just tips and tools for how to stay strong. And I guess maybe part of that could be walking in your purpose through this time, discovering maybe what your purpose is during this time of social distancing, or what are we calling it now? Physical distancing.
Really?
Because we're not distancing socially.
Oh yeah, true.
Right?
True.
We're actually connecting on deeper levels. So, and then a Q&A maybe if we have time for that. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm going to pass it over to Sheldon because I need a moment with my coffee here.
Yeah, so
hey, guys.
We've got a third special. Well, he's still here.
Oh, is he in the shot?
He was.
Oh, Bodie.
For a second.
Come here, buddy. Come say hi to Mom.
Come here, Bodie. Yeah.
He always looks so confused when I ask him to be in the video. Sparkle Paws? Hey, come on. You want a little publicity shot? You should see his face.
He's just like,
Jason and Cindy have met, Bodie. Good morning, Eric, Alicia. We're going to do everybody's name this morning. Anthony, Jason, and Cindy. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Happy Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So Sheldon was about to say something, and Bodie was video bombing.
Well,
morning.
There's not something that jumps out in my mind to say right now, but I do want to say that thanks everyone for being here, and thanks everyone for being healthy, being considerate of what's going on and how people are feeling with it, and that this time is it's a time of change and a time of reintegrating parts of yourself. And like I had an interesting moment last night where I was going to sleep and I was thinking like how I feel sensitive to a lot of things, like whenever there's tension in the room, I have a sense about me to where I'm like hyper vigilant of it to make sure I know what's going on, where and when. And, a big, yeah, Bodie. I was just petting him. He laid down out of my reach. So it's like, you sit up. But anyway, so I had.
We take a moment for doggo recognition.
Mm-hmm.
We pause.
But I had a moment thinking back to some trauma I had in my childhood and how that kind of affected me later on to where I'm doing a lot of necessary healing, getting parts of myself back. And these times where we're not doing things the same anymore, like I feel pretty fortunate that I don't have a business that's affected right now because of it. But I do know of people who are out of work, and it's just like, it's a weird time for that. But having this extra time to be inside and to have our own means of entertainment, of filling in our time, because, time used to fill in work used to fill in our time. But now us hanging out with whoever we're living with is now how we're filling out the time. And not only that, but the time with ourselves. And we never really had this sense of pausing and the sense of being on our own since before like smartphones or like, the big industry just became a big bubble. where money became the number one thing, and I'm thinking partially because of my age, at that time I was a kid, I wasn't even 10 yet. I was about 12 when cell phones, like the smartphones, Blackberries were really starting to come out. So I just noticed when technology changes, we change with it as well. And yeah, with this time alone, it's somewhat a reminder of how things were. And it really helps us get a good perspective on where we are now in terms of our own development, and whether or not the things we use, whether they're even gadgets, are really helping us. And so yeah, I've just been really feeling that sense of the old times coming back and reclaiming them in this time.
I remember the old times because I'm older. So, yeah, I mean, I'm from a time before all that stuff, so I do remember. And I mean, I have a very real sense of nostalgia for that because most of my life was lived, well, maybe not most of it, but a good, not that old, but a good chunk of my life was lived before, before the smartphones and, all that. So yeah, we definitely have some habitual things that we're looking at changing for sure. So Sheldon braved the grocery store last night for us.
Yeah, part one.
There was no toilet paper, right?
They had coffee filters
in the toilet paper aisle.
Yep, and like sponges.
I guess sponges. I'm guessing that coffee filters would be really bad for your plumbing and your butt.
Yeah.
Were they like at least natural, or were they bleached?
They
coffee filters.
They were like the brown organic kind.
So at least you can have some organic, au natural coffee filters to wipe your butt with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems really strange. What has happened to the world that there's coffee filters where the toilet paper used to be?
Well, there's like,
and coffee will give you the shits sometimes too if you drink too much of it.
Yeah.
So it's a double purpose. Brew your coffee, dry out your filter, and wipe your butt with it. All right. Make sure you reduce, reuse, and recycle.
There were only two.
Sheldon's serious today.
So it's like
there were only two packages of filters.
Yeah, one for your coffee and one for your butt.
No, you use it for coffee first, and then you dry it out. You rinse it, you dry it out, and reuse it for your butt.
That makes sense.
Yeah, see? Environmentally friendly. But don't flush it down the toilet, all right? So if you have to use a coffee filter, now you know what to do. And if you don't drink coffee, well, I don't know what to say. So anyway,
yes, shedding is getting
there was lots of fresh produce. Yeah. So you want to give them a rundown? Are you interested in what was going on in the grocery store? I'm shouting at you now. I'm not sure where I am. Hang on. I think I need to get in my body. Okay. Because I'm not quite right yet. Okay, so let's do this together. Since it's my daily alignment and you're joining me for it, which makes it so much better. Let's just breathe into our bodies. And look who's joined us. No, don't look at me. Look over there. Look at me over there. Look, Mom's on this. Look, Mommy's on the screen. Look, she's a star. Oh, look at how cute he is. Oh, he's the cutest dog ever.
He's so bright.
We take a moment for pupper recognition. He's a floofin'. He look at how impressed he is with the whole thing too. He's like, oh, look, he's looking. All right. I mean, how long have I been doing these daily alignments? I've been trying to get Bodhi to come over and be in the video for, the whole time, at least over a month, right? It's probably been almost 2 months now. So good morning. So people are saying, okay, so wait, hang on. Because what I was going to do was... We're going to thank you everyone for joining. We're going to breathe together. 3 long deep breaths. Let's start with that. He is handsome. Yes, she got it right. He's handsome. Okay, let's all take 3 long deep breaths. 5 count in through the nose, 5 count out through the mouth. I need this, so I have to do this with you, Okay, and let's feel into something that feels really wonderful, like just the handsome dog. We could be so grateful for that cute, fleefy dog. And just really feel into that, something that feels really yummy for you. And I need to do this. So let's do this together. Let's check in on where we are in relation to our body. So ask the question, where am I in relation to my body? Oh, I'm way out there over the mountains.
I'm like
Ruh-roh.
just right here.
You're just over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to breathe and just imagine breathing those escapees back in. It's like I've been in isolation, so there's a part of me that's frolicking around on the other side of the mountains. I might be in California somewhere, I'm not sure. So let's breathe ourselves back in, right back into center. Okay, and imagine kind of like everything locking into place. Hopefully our mic isn't glitchy today. This is a brand new mic, and it's been going like. Thank you.
That's the flycatcher.
It's every time
it zaps the bugs.
Every time one of it, I'm like, nobody doesn't have fleas. Okay. So we can't hear it on this end until after we listen to it. Yeah, so, all right. Is everybody fully embodied? So breathe into that. Really feel into your body. Maybe wiggle your toes, wiggle your bum a little. Just really feel the density in your torso. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, my spine just gave me a nice little crack there. So we're adjusting here. Okay, so that feels better. I feel a little bit more present in my body. I was kind of out there and maybe a little bit much for Sheldon this morning. I was okay at first. I don't know what happened. I got all heavy and then I needed to get light and I overcompensated. Whoops. It's okay. So what I see that there are some questions up there. Or some comments up there? Would you like to scroll up while I say a couple things?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. So Brooke said that people, should get a bidet. We
were talking about the booty squirters earlier.
Yeah. Was that today?
I think we should call them booty squirters. Oh, you get your booty squirted. I feel like that was this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy.
I feel like we were having a full-on conversation about the bidet. Thank the French for the bidet. Okay, by the way, I was conceived in France.
Yeah, that's right. It was this morning.
It was this morning. Yes, yeah. I was conceived in because we were talking about him being able to find toilet paper in the grocery store because there wasn't any last night. And it's like, we have toilet paper here. It's okay, but I figure we might as well get another package. We don't need to like beat people up for 5 or 6 packages, but we were talking about people being courteous, and part of what the conversation was really that led to that was talking about, the observations that I started the conversation talking about, like how pleased I am and grateful I am to observe the changes that people are making in their level of awareness, in some of the habits and practices that they are, really focusing on right now. And it would be great. Like the companies that are making the booty squirters that go in the toilets are probably. It's funny because I saw those things come out just before all this happened. I remember seeing the ads on Facebook and I'm like, that is a great idea. The only thing that I see as a problem with that is that water's cold, like really cold coming from the toilet tank, So bidets are great because as far as I know, you can actually have warm water for your booty. So I think it's great, that we will be looking at, what would that mean? Like, let's think about what that would mean for the trees, our fellow tree beings on the planet. If we could be, if we could change just that one thing and learn to wash our butts instead of wipe our butts with toilet paper, it doesn't really get them clean anyway. Coffee filters, terrible idea. And maybe what that would do to the septic systems for people and plumbing. Like there's some countries where you don't flush your toilet paper down the toilet, you put it in a trash can. So just think of what that might look like, even just that one thing changing, where, maybe when we're out in public places, we use toilet paper, but at home we use a bidet. I'd be happy to look at installing one of those. I don't know where I'd put it, but it'd be cool. So, I think that what's happening right now is we're really getting shaken up, and hopefully there's enough of the population that's looking at this and saying, wow, we're really being invited to be a lot smarter and less ignorant about the things that we're doing, and really start to think about how we're impacting our planet with these things, and for those of you who are watching the videos, who are watching other stuff, who know this, please, start sharing the information and make sure that you have a voice during all of this. That's really promoting the change that's necessary in our world, from a loving place inside of yourself, because this is the time right now, guys. This is what we came here for, and it's time. I'm seeing so many people that are posting content that weren't posting content before, and it's amazing to see that. Really, really helpful stuff. And, just make sure that you're doing what you can to reach the people that need to be reached with it. And I have to work on that a little bit too. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. So yes. Sheldon, you were talking earlier about integration, and that kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. So first, addressing the heaviness thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm sure you probably have something to say about that. But while you're thinking, I'll talk. Is that cool?
Sure.
Okay. So I noticed that, were you feeling heavy last night? Like a sense of kind of like the weight of the world being like, oh, hi.
I wouldn't really call it a weight, but I call it an internal gravity.
Okay. I like that.
Like
Ooh,
where.
So smart.
Oh, thanks.
And handsome.
I'm perceptive.
Anyway. I love the way he explains things. Internal gravity. Yeah, we should write a song. Internal gravity. Somebody told us to sing earlier.
Oh yeah, that was Eric.
Internal gravity. No, it wouldn't sound like that. It would sound more heavy. It would sound more heavy. We'd be in like a.
It just constantly goes down and down and down. Shepherd tone.
So heavy.
But so like what I felt last night, it wasn't so much because the way I see weight, that's an external force upon you.
I got you.
Emotional baggage seems to be an internal weight collapsing upon itself, implosion. And I remember in chemistry class, I had a really important lesson about chemical reactions. So when you mix like an acid and some other thing, you get two different types of thermal reactions. One is exothermal, which means that it heats up from all the extra energy being built up from it. And once it's mixed, it's like a hot liquid. And then you get endothermic, which is cold. Like the energy net is way less, so you lose energy in that and you get cold. So by the end of the thing, you have a cold liquid. And I remember thinking that, and I was like, that's just like us and our emotions. Some people, when they're faced with an injustice or a trauma, some people get really angry and they break shit. And, they punish themselves, or they want to beat someone up.
Well, sometimes they do, and hit walls and stuff. I've seen grown men punching walls.
Yeah. Kyle.
That's a hot man.
I don't know a Kyle, but it's just
Kyle done that.
It's a meme.
Right, okay.
Kyle gets angry, punches drywall.
Kyle definitely punched drywall.
But then there's people,
sorry, Kyle.
People like me, endothermic, where we were faced with trauma or injustice or something like that, and we get cold. And it's like, oh, okay.
Withdrawn.
You
shrink a little.
It's more of a form of sadness instead of anger. And it's really inwardly based because, in my mind, I don't want that to be spread to anywhere else. Whereas with an explosion, exothermic heat, you want to let the world know that someone's wronged you or something like that. You did this to me.
Wouldn't be me if I didn't make a weird sound effect with that.
Yeah.
That.
But there's a lot of self-blame that tends to come from the cold reaction. And so emotional weight is like the cold, and pressure from outside sources is like the heat. You overheat, you get sweaty, and you're like, oh, this is too hot.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're sad, you just
yeah. Because the sad is kind of the stuff that underlies the meh, right?
Yeah.
That I tend to go into Yeah. If I'm in my anger, I tend to retreat because that's not a responsible place for me to interact in.
Mm.
So, yeah, I like the idea of internal gravity. That's so, but there's also a sense for me sometimes of the weight of the world being, pressing in as well. Where yes, there's internal stuff that's going on, but there's also this sensation or feeling or sense of an external pressure that I can't even really define or identify, that's kind of pressing in on me and pushing down on me, along with, I guess, an internal gravity. Is that what you were calling it? Internal gravity?
Yeah. Well,
Internal
specifically,
gravity. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so that there can be external forces that feel like they're pressing in or weighing down, as well as the internal forces that are doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, because that we all have different ways that we are relating to our experience as well, and one of the things that's really great about sharing and communicating about this kind of stuff is broadening our viewpoint on these things and the way that we're able to conceptualize them within ourselves. And seeing things through a more expanded lens is really helpful, especially in times where kind of the narrow-mindedness of our human race is probably being broadcast out pretty blatantly at this point right now. We're kind of seeing the best and the worst of people right now. And that can feel kind of heavy, because I'm very mindful about what I'm exposed to in social media, and I don't ever watch the news or anything like that, because that doesn't serve me at all. And most of it isn't even valid, I don't think, but it's a topic for another time where I won't talk about that at all. But I've never felt the news to be helpful ever. If we want to talk about things that are helpful, let's do that. There's lots of places to find that. It's all just sensationalist, and the headlines don't actually match the facts, and it's just a bunch of BS, but for the most part. But I think it used to be, I think reporting used to be cool. I mean, it used to be a really good, valuable thing, but now it's just like, it's all about the dollars,
Everything. I think that's why things just feel so sad and empty.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, it makes money because people are chasing the genuine nature that things used to be.
They're like, who can get the story first, and how can we make it the story? Like, how can we grab everybody's attention with the worst possible, the most like sensationalist headline possible.
Yeah.
So back to the whole heaviness thing. One of the best ways to move out of a place of feeling heavy is to do something that makes you laugh. Okay. Which is what I did earlier. You guys watched me go from feeling heavy to, I just start cracking myself up, basically. I don't even need anybody else for that, but thanks, Sheldon,
no problem.
for being here for that. But okay. So if you're feeling heavy, it's a really good idea to breathe into your own field, because it's not just your body, it's your whole field that holds the information. And even into the spaces where you're connected into the collective, and ask yourself, what can I define what these things are that are creating this feeling of heaviness, and part of the thing that makes it difficult to move through some of the feelings that we're having is when we don't have the awareness of what it is that we're trying to figure out, so opening up the dialogue with their trilogue, you've been here for all of it, with the body, mind, spirit, and asking, what are the things that I feel heavy about right now? What is contributing to this feeling of heaviness inside of me, and in my relationship to myself and others and the rest of the world? And maybe write it down, maybe just sit. And if none of you have ever tried channeled writing, I would highly recommend it. It's basically what I'm doing now in these readings that I'm doing for people, because I went from starting with cards to then doing an intuitive reading to then just doing intuitive readings. And you're basically just channeling information, or you're drawing in as a receiver the information that's most useful and helpful at that time. I think when I say channeling, I have a little bit of a with that, because there are a lot of people that say they're channeling stuff and it's just a bunch of crap, and we don't really know what we're channeling, like not we. I mean, I have a pretty good idea. I'm just talking to the higher self or the expansive self, the subconscious field of, that person that I'm talking to. So yeah, there are people that are channeling entities and stuff like that. And it's like, what are you really channeling? So that aside, what is helpful is to talk to your more expanded self, or we were talking about the oversoul, your higher self, your super high self on high. It's so high. I know.
Reality.
They totally show me this, like, oh my God, we're so high right now. Wait, hang on. You could be higher. Your highest self. Okay. The one that's the most high self that you can talk to.
100% couch at that point.
Super high, like in the couch, like a part of the couch. They might even be the couch. Melded. Right. Reality is an illusion, dude. So anyway, that's my question. I don't know what your question was, but apparently I was answering the question.
That's kind of Irish sounding. Your question, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, eh?
Irish Canadian.
Canadian. Well, that would be me, kind of, right? But my birth father's from Georgia, so I wish I had a Georgia accent. Oh, well, let's see. I can't do it. Georgia. So,
Ray Charles.
I think I said what I wanted to say about the heaviness thing. I think open up the dialogue and have the conversation with your field, and that brings you're connected to a more expanded, quantum, I guess, understanding of your experience, but then you're also more self-aware, within this very contracted experience here. Mm-hmm. So self-awareness is key when it comes to feelings of discomfort. And that's the best way to get there, is to ask the questions and receive the answers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like detective work, which is fun. I dig it. Maybe not everybody likes that, but I'm super into that. Super sleuth. So anyway, do you have anything to add to that, Sheldon? About heaviness? You got a dog on your feet.
It's natural.
It's on only toe, natural.
Yeah. So like we down here. We vibing, and
you sounded so like vibing.
Thanks.
We're vibing.
And why are we vibing?
What are we vibing with?
So the point is, and Eric mentions it, like we are made of this light, this sound frequency that is everywhere, and we're just the wave that just stops at a certain point, and that point that it stops at is us, and so like people are just different wavelengths that just stop at certain points, and like it's all the same type of energy, and that means that we are love. We are that thing that started this whole thing. And why are we in these bodies? Because there's a lot of stuff down here that we want to try out for fun. and we want to understand what's going on with it, because it's new. We've never been here before. Like this is the farthest we've come in so many ways, and it's a new frontier. And so we want to know what's there, like what's going on. And I think that's why we tend to have stuff come up and things weigh on us, because it's just a frequency. It's a perspective that we can have. And I notice a lot of people who have like a really high vibration, like a wide range of perception, tend to have a lot of like emotional things, and it's like, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of curiosity and expansion, because if we were just happy all the time, then that's like a pretty mono, like one signal life. Whereas if we have like the plus and minuses, we have like many different things to work with, and it helps us communicate and relate to each other better, because we've moved far apart, and we're not actually as far apart as we think, but we keep thinking that we're far apart. So it's like
we're not apart at all.
Yeah, that distant measurement is a lie. To quote a song I wrote.
It's an illusion. Separation is an illusion. Yeah, because we aren't. But what did I want to add to that you were saying? Oops, I lost it. It's gone. It had to do with something that you were saying. Okay, so what he said. Thank you, Sheldon. So
Welcome.
you were spot on. So relatable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, the happy all the time thing was the thing that I kind of like, bing. Yeah, because it's not the way it's supposed to be, but it's also not authentic. If somebody is happy all the time, that's great. They can be a really valuable presence on the earth as long as they're genuine and authentic in that happiness,
Mm-hmm.
And but like what you were saying in my own words, that maybe leads to a lack of relatability. If there is a person who's happy all the time and they've never known what it feels like to feel anything else, then are they going to be able to understand even how to be compassionate, or that compassion is necessary? So the contrast is part of the contrast is the reason that we agreed to all this, is to have a polarized experience so that we can, in a construct of free will. Anyway, that's getting a little out there, but yeah, we have the free will choice to align in whatever way we want. But the key is to be authentic and genuine in where we're at in any given moment. And it's okay. And, to stop crapping on our, what it is to be human, and to really embrace the sensitivity, the beautiful tenderness that we are,
Mm-hmm.
And, so there's a lot to learn in that, really embracing sensitivity and being very kind in that, and seeing where are our uncomfortable places when someone else is feeling emotional and sensitive around us. If we feel uncomfortable, why? I think I added to what you were saying. Yeah. Okay. Like, where'd you go? Oh, is your crystal? Are you having a moment with your crystal?
No, I was actually thinking about electronic music and how to convey emotion.
I knew you went off somewhere. I'm like, he's not here with me right now. I could feel his energy. Like,
I was like over there.
Yeah, you're somewhere. So that's okay. So Carrie was saying, are we all healers? Up there at the very top, you can kind of see it. Yes. So, but what is a healer is the question. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not a healer of anybody other than my own experience, and I can help people understand that healing is something that they can do, and that we have, we're walking around in these bodies that are intelligent enough to understand how to heal themselves, but we stand in the way of our own healing a lot of the time with the thoughts and the programs that we align with, and where are we aligned in our thoughts that are either healing thoughts or hurtful thoughts. So I can only be the healer of my own experience. So yes, we all have the capacity to be healers, and in such, yes, we can facilitate miraculous healing within our own bodies and within the bodies of the people that we love. And it's an agreement that's made more on a quantum level. Like if I put my hand on someone, like Yeshua did, and he said, you will do these things and greater. He told us what was to come, that he was setting the example for what the power really of love is, and unfortunately, we've got a lot of things that are wrapped around the word love that aren't really, that are a little discordant. Yeah. But grace is a better word, really. Mm-hmm. Perfect love is what I like to say, because I think that puts it in a, unconditional is a weird word for me in front of the word love, because it's like love doesn't have conditions. It's everything in existence. Mm-hmm. So perfect love is all things. But so yeah, I could put my hand on, let's say, someone's ankle that was sprained, and it could heal spontaneously. Is that me doing that? It's us doing it. It's us showing up in a space and time with, quantum potential being available and accessible by just simply being open and noticing what's different. you know,
Mm.
and it's not, it comes from a place of love and true care for ourselves and one another. That's what true healing really is. So I think I answered your question. Yes, we're all healers. Did you have anything to add to that? Good morning, David, and everyone else who joined. Thank you for joining.
Well, it kind of brings me back to the idea of like human-made hierarchies. Well, looks like I'm holding a cup in the camera. Cheers.
It is.
No, it's a full crystal.
Always just pretending to be a crystal.
Yeah.
In this lifetime.
But we got these hierarchies that we've set up for thousands of years, you know, and at first it was very obvious, and now it's not so much. Where, you know, those of us, especially within like, I guess, more metaphysical perspectives, like there tends to be this idea of, oh, I want to be this great thing, and if I'm not that great thing, I feel bad. I feel like I'm not fully in my purpose. But there's something really great about not having to have that responsibility on your shoulders. You know, like so many people want to be this important thing, this important figure to, you know, speak truth and send love around the world and do all this grand stuff. But you can do that without having such responsibility. Like it can lead to stress. You know, like there's so many people who are in high positions who, you know, people down lower, so to speak, like, you know, fantasize about being in those positions of being so well respected and having so many resources. But the people in those positions tend to feel really like, you know, overwhelmed by all the things that they have to do in order to keep this energy and not be crushed by it. And, you know, so like to think that you need to be a healer to be a helpful person in this world is it's not always necessary. Because by our own abilities, the human being body setup, it's naturally meant to heal, because we're in this ecosystem. We've been here for a long time, and our bodies are designed to, you know, create energy. We have auras that are radiating light from each cell. And, you know, it doesn't have to be about 100% utilizing it, but utilizing it where it's needed, where you feel that it goes. Because like we mentioned in a few shows earlier, that it's the feeling draws you to where you're needed, because you are creating that feeling within. And although your conscious mind might not know, your heart and the subconscious really knows, and your gut brain, you know, follow your gut. And yeah, so I'd say the same about being like a teacher, or you know, just grandeur in general. Like it's okay to not be the very best at what you're doing, because you're the best at you. And as cheesy as that sounds, I think that's probably a really important piece of advice, because then we're not like caught up in, oh, I should be this. Oh, I'm stressed out because I'm not this thing, you know, and it just wastes a lot of time and energy. So humility, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Humility is fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Ooh.
So may I add to what are you good? Okay. Shit. What's I gonna say? Yeah, it's not about, well, you know, I think to some degree, okay, part of what you're speaking to is, you know, the idea of titles, you know, and labels. And I do not call myself a healer. I have to identify what I do somehow. So I say healing practitioner, you know, but you know, just so people can have maybe a basic understanding of, oh, she's a helper, you know, like yeah. I'd rather call myself a wizard or something, but you know, that would freak people out. Like, yeah, you know, it's a wizard extraordinaire, you know, like a flashing sign above my head. People would be curious about that. Some people would run away, but that's okay. Yeah, so it's not, don't get caught up in the title, like teacher. Oh, I'm a teacher. It's like, okay, what matters? And this is what Sheldon is speaking to in his own way. And I guess kind of what I spoke to earlier is be the authentic, genuine version of you that is most aligned with your passion and what feels like your purpose here. And it doesn't matter what title people want to throw at you or you want to slap on yourself. It's like, what are you doing? Who are you being in the world? Who are you being? How are you being? What presence are you choosing to embody here? You know, because you get to choose. And that can change from day to day. You know, we wear different hats, you know. And I certainly have my focus on a number of different things. You know, I'm a writer and a healing practitioner and just a general all-around decent human being, I'd like to think.
Yeah.
Who does great accents? Well, maybe just one great one. But you know, I'm also a mother, you know, so I'm a lot of things. And we are all so much more than any label or title or anything that we could slap on ourselves. And I think when people start defining themselves by the role that they think they're supposed to be playing, they're actually limiting their experience. And there can be a misery, like Sheldon is saying, that comes along with that, because then it becomes a burden and an obligation. And, you know, you spoke to people who are working, I think you were talking about people that are working in big corporations who are kind of, you know, closer to the top tier. Were you kind of touching on that a little bit? Maybe not corporations, but people who held important roles.
Yeah, like not specifically corporate, but
that's a relatable point for me, because the point that I'm trying to make is that people that do what Sheldon was talking about often in that are too focused on that, and they've sacrificed everything else that really matters in their life. I watched my ex-husband do that. Bless his heart. He lost his family. You know, I mean, we're still here, but he was so focused on that and being that and being great at that he forgot to be great at the other things that were waiting for him at home to really truly love him. And you know, he sacrificed a lot in that. So let's not, you know, for the sake of success, sacrifice the things that really matter. And I think that that's what we're learning here and now. And full circle back to what we were talking about earlier, that was one of the things that I've been noticing, is that, you know, we're having right now, it's a wake-up call for us to really sit with what matters to us and what is important to us, and who are we and how are we showing up in the world in a way that is either detrimental or beneficial. And I'm looking at our title here, and we were wanting to talk about staying well and strong during times of change. And that ties into everything that we've already talked about, because the thing that will help us feel most well and most strong is true alignment. You know, this is our alignment practice. This is the reason I'm doing it. And we're building up to some stuff here. But true alignment within yourself and with a greater purpose that you came here to embody, whatever that is for you. And I've said before, like Sheldon was saying, it doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be this big, mind-blowing, like, I'm going to be the one to change the world. I think it was Maya Angelou that said something along the lines of, it's not about the great things that you do, but it's about the small things that have a great impact. You know, and it's the littlest things that sometimes have the greatest impact. You don't know what you're creating in like a tiny little moment of paying it forward. Think about how that started. You know, so I don't even know how that started, but there's a movie, I think, called Pay It Forward, and it's really lovely. But, you know, one person decided to start a movement that has, you know, touched probably the most of the world in a Pay It Forward. You know, the secret Pay It Forward thing, you know. And, you know, like, let's say an anonymous sticky note somewhere for someone with a really uplifting message, and then a note on the bottom to pay it forward. And then another sticky note with it, you know, that's blank, you know, pay it forward. So that something like that can ripple out into the collective, even just sitting quietly by yourself and tending to your own inner environment and choosing to be peaceful and choosing to work through the things that are asking to be seen and held and loved within you, it has an impact on the entire collective. So the tiny little things that we're doing do ripple out and they impact the rest of us. And we have to really be mindful about what those things are that we're creating, you know, because the tiny little things do become big things in time, you know? So what else? Are you still thinking about electronic music?
No,
Okay.
No. It would be relevant if I talked about it though, but I won't.
Who wants Sheldon to talk about electronic music?
Well, not just specifically that, but just expression in general, like artistic expression. But what I want to say about that is, you know, some people, just kind of stepping back earlier to titles, people sometimes they get readings, find out who they were in past lives, and they use that as a springboard to decide who they are instead of being who they are and having that just like confirm it, you know?
Yeah.
Because I've experienced both sides of that. I used to be the person who found out about that one thing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm this thing. I'm entitled. And, you know, now I'm at a point where I know myself better than I know that random person that I heard about.
I mean, you were in another lifetime?
Yeah, they're not random, but you know what I mean? And, you know, it's just like, there's a humility to that because then it's yours. It doesn't belong to someone else who at this point you would have to speculate unless you have a genuine connection with them on a spirit level. And, you know, I find some people like put that way too forward in who they are. And it's like, kind of problematic. Yeah. Because it gets in the way of what they're supposed to be doing instead of what, you know, especially if other people are supporting that image of them being a reincarnation of this one, like, specific, let's say Buddha being. Yeah. Okay. There's a good example. Yeah. And like,
we got a lot of Mary Magdalenes walking around.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad. But,
well, it depends on how they're operating.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because there's some stuff that's getting a little distorted and all of that.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that, we are a new person. Like, we're not the same thing rehashed. We're just a new thing that has history. And some of us have really specific things under our belt. And that's cool. But that doesn't define you. It reflects you. You know what I mean? So like...
It embellishes you.
Yeah. it makes what you're doing make sense more. You know, like in the past, like I've had lifetimes as a classical, well, technically romantic composer, and it's like I found out about that later when I was getting into orchestral music and strings and stuff like that, and working with harmonies in a way that's not regular but still emotional. And I found out about that lifetime. I'm like, that makes sense. But I didn't take that and like just make strictly orchestral music after that, though. You know, if I did take that, I would not have a full hand of creativity. I'd just have a pinky, you know. So
yeah, we can use the information to add to what we're doing here and help us understand what the purpose is here and now. Yeah, thank you for that. So does anybody have a question for us? Thank you for joining, those of you who joined later.
Yeah, thank you.
And what else did I want to touch on today? So I'll just kind of talk a second for in relation to what my experience is now. Okay, so I felt heavy for a little bit this morning, and I think you all watched me reboot that. It's simple, you know, and it's a matter of free will. You know, the choice to not stay in that, but rather move into a different vibe. You know, and what are you laughing about?
Bodhi farted.
Did he fart?
And it's really bad.
What you farting for, friend? Did you get some gluten? Yeah, I like that, Sage. Here, let me help you with that so it doesn't end up in my mug. All right, so, Bodhi had gaseous emission. All right. And that's okay. So yeah, that's good too. Let's make sure we're not. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, we leaned right into that's thick. Ooh, that's got a special je ne sais quoi to that. Oh, now he's leaving.
I'm
He's
not a
like,
fan
oh
of
dear
that.
God, what is
Crop
that?
dusting.
Crop dusting. The handsome dog just crop dusted as humans. Thanks, Bodie. We love you. Thank you for that release. So I have a very dear friend who, hey, when you have a healthy diet, I don't know what he ate that's making him poofy, because usually he doesn't get gassy. Thank God, because some dogs just fart all the time. But I'm good. Thank you. Yeah, just wave it over here. I have a friend that, we celebrate the release, because it's like, why does that have to be a weird taboo thing? We all get gas, especially when we have a healthy diet. Let it out. I think that we should, when we go into the women's bathrooms, because women tend to like think that we need to be so dainty about it. I think when like somebody has a really healthy release, we should be like, yeah, girl, let it out. Sheldon knows. We have our bodies know what to do with that. Then we hold it in. There's a really funny video where there's this guy where he's got the microphone and he's like, here's the, and you're on a date and then you're holding it in. It's like, hey, let me out. What's going on here?
We planned this.
Let's be real about it.
Stand-up comedian.
Right.
Yeah, it was a good
that was really funny. Yeah. It was when you find the one, or something about finding the one. How long did it take for you to fart in front of them? Or break wind, depending. Cut the cheese. What is it? Drop the rose. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways of saying it. But anyways, so thank you, Bodhi, for that opportunity to talk about farts. I have 2 boys. There's nothing we don't talk about here. So, all right. Does anybody have a question about gas? Noxious gases.
Yeah.
Sage is great for that. Okay, so if you have gaseous emissions that are not pleasant smelling, sage that, or Palo Santo. But we don't really want to promote the use of Palo Santo or sage, like overuse of it at this point right now, because apparently we're being very irresponsible with that too. Yay! Well, it's a moneymaker, right?
Yeah, and it seems to be mostly the perfume sage, the California stuff, that's being overfarmed.
Is that the smaller leaf stuff?
That's this kind.
The white sage, the wide leaf.
I think so. Like,
that's wide leaf.
It has this distinct smell that you get them at most metaphysical shops. But if you get stuff from like, let's say Montana or South Dakota, North Dakota, it has more of a like. It's not so sweet. It's a little bitter smelling, and it's earthier. It smells like dirt a little bit. That's the stuff I really like, because I grew up with that. Yeah, because you just pick that from the side of the road, or maybe not the side of the road, but a little far off in the ditch. And yeah,
in Colorado you can.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of wild sage, but Garrett was telling me, though, when we went on our field trip, that there's a certain kind of sage that's not actually meant to be burned.
Yeah.
So there's some sage plants, and I don't know if this is information that you can find online, but some of the smaller leaf sage is not meant to be burned. Maybe you know more about this. It's meant for like tinctures and baths and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's ghost sage. There's like male and female, and then there's ghost sage, which I heard that doesn't really work when you smudge with it.
Okay,
that's probably what you
part of it.
Yeah.
All right,
but Garrett would know,
And harvest. Okay, so I'll say this because we're talking about it. Harvest responsibly. If you're going to be taking things from Mother Earth, ask permission, please, first before you do. Ask for permission. These are sentient, conscious beings that we're interacting with. They are conscious of their experience as well. So don't just go ripping stuff out of the earth without asking permission and making sure that you're checking in. And that even applies to things like, everything that's seemingly inanimate is not inanimate. It's consciousness. Like my home. I watched my home breathe. Okay. I know that sounds a little weird, but I'm going to write a book about it. And she has her own personality and her own, her own conscious awareness of what is happening here. She's very happy that I live here. And And that's the relationship that I choose to have with the rest of my world. And it was new for me after 2014. And it feels so much better to relate to this experience in the way that I am now. It feels so much more pure and beautiful and real and true.
Mm-hmm.
And, the magic that happens when we really truly have reverence for all things is beautiful. And that, that's one of the beautiful things that the people who have come into their lifetimes as Native American peoples are able to teach us, because you have a really strong, in the Native culture, there's a very strong, the shamanic culture, a very strong medicine people relationship with all things as spirit, and Sheldon can speak more to that, but that, Garrett helped me remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember like in kindergarten, well, I was in kindergarten, my brother was in first grade, but my brother and I would talk about like how we were raised knowing that everything is living, the rocks, the trees, the grass,
Mm-hmm.
The mountains. And in school, they would, they're teaching us about like, they had these two lists, like living objects, write them over here. Non-living objects, write them over here. And we learned to please the school.
Yeah.
Because we knew that rocks are living. We knew that all these things around us are actually alive and they're from the earth. And we were taught that way. But we were also taught by the schools to not think that. So we're like, okay, for the test, we're going to write it like that. But we actually know that it's different. And
that's not genuine and authentic. If you think like that, what if you wrote down what to be true on there and dealt with that teacher,
I would have got a D.
Right. But isn't that crazy though, that we will live so out of integrity with what we know to be true to please other people is what that speaks to. And, grading children on, like, oh, well, you get a D for this awareness that you have. Yeah. I don't know. Well, let's hope that the shutdown of the school systems is something that brings a greater something, a whole new way of doing things here. Children having this time at home is really valuable. My kids are just screwing around and, having fun, being kids. Cool. I'm going to let them do that.
Yeah. Sounds like they're having a fun time.
They're having a great
time.
Them
down there.
Yeah. What else did I want to add to that? So I wanted to share a little story. Okay. So to speak to, seeing everything as part of consciousness and everything as a spirit and everything as a living being. I was in Boulder one day back a few years ago, and I went on a hike, and I was gathering some rocks or crystals from the land, and I had picked up a feather and a few rocks, and I'd asked permission, and I think the one rock, I'm not so sure I asked permission to take it. I think I did. Okay. And I had it in my hand, and I'm walking back down the mountain, and I hear, because I've been having a conversation with the mountain, the way I was asking her questions. I'm like, did it hurt when that happened? Because if you've ever seen I think they call it Dinosaur Ridge, maybe up in Boulder, there's like, you can tell that it was a really drastic event where the rock just went boom up into the sky, And I'm like, did that hurt when that happened? And I'm pretty sure she said something along the lines of, it was really exciting, actually. So I was sitting on this big outcrop of rock and having a conversation with her, and like, what happened here? And and I apologize to her for all the people that stomp around all over her and they're not mindful. And, I'm sorry, but they don't really know better. We're trying to teach them. And I'm walking back down the mountain, and I had a few little rocks in my hand, and she goes, no, give them back. And I'm like, oh God, I'm sorry. So I made I gave them back to her. I put them on the ground, and I stacked them in a little like pile. And then I made her a couple other little piles so that like, I'm like, are we good now? Are we good? She's like, she thought it was okay for me to take these parts of her home with me. And then she decided that she wasn't okay with that. And if I hadn't respected that, then what does that say about me? So that was a fun experience to share, a relatable point on that, and there are so many of us that, like, I watch children who haven't been taught this, and, they'll walk by a bush and they'll like rip the branch off, just because, rip all the leaves off the branch. And it's like, oh, I think you had a moment with me when we were at the zoo where I'm like, no, don't do that, don't do that. He's like ripping leaves off that bush or something while we're waiting for food.
Oh yeah, there was a
And I'm
kid
like, oh,
there.
he doesn't know. Oh, he doesn't know.
And then he hit his head like immediately
Oh, he
after
did.
on the rail. And we're just like, ooh.
And we
Carlo,
looked at him and we go, that's what you get, son. No, we didn't do
get
that.
wrecked.
The bush is going, oh yeah, ripping my leaves off. You're going to bang your head. I don't think you put 2 and 2 together though.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a whole new earth that we're birthing. So we have the opportunity to share with people, you know, hey, remind one another, remind ourselves, all things are living beings. Let's walk with reverence. You know, stop stomping all over everything and claiming it as this is our domain, you know, Jesus, just stop that. So we're at an hour now. So I don't know. I feel like we've kind of lost some people, but anyway, for those of you who are still here watching us, thank you so much for joining today. Do you feel complete, Sheldon?
There's one more thing I want to say about the everything is alive thing.
Everything is alive.
Everything is alive.
Everything is alive.
So we've mainly talked about things that come from the earth, things that are natural, but well, except, you know, you talked about your house. Objects are living, you know, they're made of atoms and molecules just like us, and those atoms and molecules are made out of energy just like us. And so there's this cool thing that I've heard, like if you want to do like telekinesis, you like get to know the thing really well and make an agreement from your cells to its bits, you know, that we're gonna move, and then it moves because you agreed. And I think the movie Phenomenon did a really good like visual of that. Like he was doing like telekinesis on the pen, and it's just like, we're all energy, Bob. You know, and it's just like it was
like so clearly.
And so, you know, we don't really need to jump to telekinesis with that, but we can go with respect, you know, like a car. Like, I'll take care of you, keep me safe, you know, let me know when things are weird. And
give me a heads up before you break on me.
And, you know, like this reverence and respect that we have for the things around us can really help ease our stresses.
Absolutely.
And relieve some of the feelings of heaviness. Oh, full circle.
Bam.
Yeah, because, you know, a lot of times we feel heavy because we think it's only us against everything.
Yeah.
But we actually have so much help that we begin to wonder how much of like our own individuality is affecting things, because it's all so interconnected that it doesn't truly matter. It's just about your experience and your choices. So yeah, you're supported. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the interconnectedness of things for just a second. So I guess that's what we'll leave you with. Okay. So we did a brief little alignment with our hearts. Okay. And as you go throughout your day today, maybe play a little bit with the world around you and start opening yourself into that, you know, telepathic communication with the rest of your world, whatever that looks like. And, you know, you're as within, so without. Your external world is going to reflect back to you your state of being within. And you know, often we're shown contrasts in that, because what we're seeing on the surface level, you know, what we're seeing, you know, when we're having things that are amazing and good and magical coming into our life is the truth of who we are and our willingness to resonate at that vibration. But then when we're having the other stuff coming in that kind of feels like it's undermining, that's a sign that we have things in our unconscious, you know, our subconscious that are asking to be paid attention to and noticed, you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot to be said about that. But as you go through your day to day, align with, you know, a lightness of being and knowing that you're not alone. Okay. That we are all connected to one another. What impact are you willing to have on the rest of the world? And what change would you like to see here? Be that change within yourself. Sharon is saying, I talk to my car. Yeah, me too.
Nice.
And I give thanks to the things around me every day. That is also very important. Thank you, Sharon. Yes.
Yeah,
so,
thanks, Sharon.
be in reverence and be in gratitude, and notice how that changes your life when you are grateful for the most simple things, like even just opening your eyes in the morning. Oh, wow, I can, the gift of vision and breath, So as you go through your day, really think about what are you aligning with? And then how can you notice what you're aligning with within yourself in your external world? And how can you help the people you love align with things that are going to be helpful and beautiful moving forward? Because we are creating something very new here. And thank you to all of us who joined. And thank you to Sheldon for all the wisdom and humor and all the things and love that you shared.
Oh, thank
you. And we will see you all, either just me or me and Sheldon. We'll see you tomorrow. We have some really fun stuff we're going to be working on today, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Good. Okay, cool. And I will finish the rest of my intuitive readings as I go through my day. And I love you all so much. I'm going to be making a post very soon about special rates during this time. So I'm going to be offering some really, really hugely discounted rates of investment for my professional services, because it's a really good time to do that. Okay. So I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day. Go forth and prosper. Woo. Isn't that like Star Trek or something?
I think so.
Bodhi said goodbye. Move. Bye. That was funny. All right. Thanks for joining. So much welcome. For grocery shopping at 7:00.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.